Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning everyone. Let's begin our learning today by singing Basmalah together. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Well, in this occasion, I'd like to share about language learning strategies. And let's go to the objectives of learning today. The first objective, the students are able to define learning strategies. The second objective is students are able to differentiate the kind of learning strategies. The third one, students hopefully are able to identify features of learning strategies. And the last objective of today's learning is students are able to define factors of successful learning strategies. Let's start with the definition of learning strategies. I have taken two definition of the expert about learning strategies. The first definition, Oxford stated that learning strategies as specific actions taken by the learner to make learning easier, faster, more enjoyable, more self-directed, more effective, and more transferable to new situation. In line with Oxford, Brown also stated that learning strategies as the specific methods of approaching a problem or task, specific actions, behaviors, steps, or techniques that people use to accomplish their learning. After reading the definition of learning strategies from the experts, we can say that learning strategies as the tools and methods adapted by learners to develop their learning practices in order to help them to achieve their learning goals. Well, let's go to the features of language learning strategies. There are several features of language learning strategies. First features, language learning strategies contribute to the main goal, communicative competence. It means that learners have an effective communication to others using language that they have learned before. And the goals of language learning strategies is communicative competence. The second feature, language learning strategies allow learners to become more self-directed. The learners will be more able to make their own decision and their own work. The third one, expand the role of the teacher. Teachers not only transfer the knowledge but also motivate students, counsel students, and so on. And next, learning strategies are problem-oriented. Learning strategy used by the learners depends on the kind of problems they face. Different problem can be solved by different strategy. And it is related to the next feature. Learning strategies are specific actions taken by the learners. Problem-oriented and specific action. So the learners will do specific actions depends on the specific problem that they face. And the next feature, learning strategies involve many aspects of the learner, and not just the cognitive aspect but other aspects such as social aspect and so on. The next, learning strategies support learning both directly and indirectly, because using learning strategies, the learners can solve the problem they face. Of course, the learning strategies can support learning directly or indirectly. And the learning strategies are not always observable. The next feature, Learning strategies are often conscious, so the learner usually conscious to do their learning strategies. And then the learning strategies also can be taught, so we as the teacher can teach our learners, our students to do the learning strategies depend on the context that the learners face. And next, learning strategies also are flexible, and as I said before, that depend on the context. So we need to choose the appropriate learning strategies depend on the context, depend on the problem that are faced by the learners or the students. And the last feature, learning strategies are influenced by variety of factors. So many factors that influences learning strategies. The next one is kinds of learning strategy. There are two kinds of learning strategy. They are direct strategies and indirect strategies. Well, let's talk first about direct strategies. Direct strategies are divided into three kinds of strategies. The first one is memory strategies, the second one is cognitive strategies, and the third one is compensation strategies. And we'll talk first about memory strategies. Here, memory strategies divided into four. Okay, the first one of memory strategies is creating mental linkage. Creating mental linkage. We can group. The first one, grouping word, such kind of word into the same kind of word. The second one, associating or elaborating. For example, we can associate the certain word to another word, or elaborating the word with other word or other thing. And the third one that we can do to create mental linkage, placing new words into a context. If the students or the learners we give a new words, the learners or the students can place that new words into a certain context that make them easier to remember or to understand about the words. The second kind of memory learning strategies, applying image and sounds. The first one, using imagery. As a teacher, we can help the learners by providing image or pictures when we are teaching. And semantic mapping, we can teach or guide the learners to make such kind of mapping to help them in learning. And using keyword, specific keyword that make the learners easier to remember the word or the term, the specific term, and representing sounds in a memory. The next is reviewing well. So the learners can make structure reviewing. They can review the topic that have been learned before and make the reviewing to be structured. The structured one, structured reviewing. And employing actions, such as using physical response or sensation. It depends on the learners. We can define first, we can analyze first whether our students or our learners need to use a physical response or using mechanical techniques. The next strategies is cognitive strategies. The first strategy that can be done by the learners is by practicing. The learners can do repeating, so they can repeat what they learned. And the second one, formally practicing with sounds and writing systems. They can practice using sounds, repeat and orally or and write written things that they have learned. Next, they can recognize and use formula and patterns. If the language learning or the material that they have learned consists of formula and patterns, they can recognize the pattern and formula that they have learned, recombining and practicing naturalistically. The next is receiving and sending messages. In this strategy, the students can get idea quickly and use resources for receiving and sending messages. For example, when we teach students about reading, the topic or the skills that we will develop for students is about reading, we can provide resources for them to receive the message, and they also can create in a written or in other words, they also can write the result of their reading and sending the message. Next, analyzing and reasoning. The students can reasoning deductively, analyzing expressions. They can try to analyze what kind of these expressions. For example, when we teach about speaking performance, usually there are several kinds of expressions that they learned, and they can analyze what kind of expression is, and then analyzing contrastively, translating the words, the sentence, and also the students can transferring the knowledge they have acquired to the friends, maybe. They can transfer their thinking, their thought to others. Creating a structure for input and output. It can be notes. The students can make such kind of notes. They can summarize the material that have listened, and they can also highlight the important term of the material that they learned in that day.